At the oral cavity, we have the filiform papilla on the anterior surface of the tongue, the hairs used for grooming, and then the lingual frenulum, the tissue that connects the tongue to the floor of the mouth. Working down the neck, we have two large salivary glands. There are several pairs of salivary glands. These are the large parotid salivary glands. The trachea, we can see with the reinforced rings of cartilage. Under it is the esophagus, a flattened muscular tube carrying food and water. Here we have the thyroid cartilage, you can see. And the thyroid gland, a little bit different in humans. We have a thyroid gland here and a thyroid gland here. Moving down the chest, we have the lungs inside the pleural cavity. The membranes on the lungs are the visceral pleural membranes. On the wall of the chest, the parietal pleural membranes. In cats, on the left side, we have three lobes, anterior, medial, and posterior. On the right side, we have four, anterior, medial, posterior, but then a fourth lobe of the lung, the accessory lobe, that's down there pretty deep and hard to see. Of course, we have the heart in the chest cavity or thoracic cavity as well, and then the diaphragm, the inferior border of the thoracic cavity. In the abdominal cavity, again, the two major membranes covering all the organs in the abdominal cavity are the visceral peritoneal membranes, and on the wall of the abdomen, the parietal peritoneal membrane. Just below the diaphragm, we have the falciform ligament, we can see nicely there, and that divides the liver into the left and right side. On the left lobes, we have the left medial and left lateral lobes. In the middle, kind of quadrangular, is the quadrate lobe. Here we have the gallbladder, usually kind of greenish, sitting in the cystic fossa. And then we continue with the right median lobe, the right lateral lobe, we see right here, and then the caudate lobe, caudate meaning tail, closest to the tail. So on the right we have the quadrate, right medial, right lateral, and caudate lobe. Moving down then below the liver, we have the stomach. You can see the cardiac sphincter, the muscle that controls contents going from the esophagus to the stomach. And then in the stomach, which has been cut open here, inside we can see the rugae, the folds of the stomach, and a bunch of nematode worms as well. But the regions of the stomach, the cardia is the very first part of the stomach, and then the fundus, the rounded upper portion, the body, the major part of the stomach, and then the pylorus, the end of the stomach. And again, we have a pyloric sphincter separating the pylorus of the stomach from the first part of the small intestine, the duodenum. The large membranes hanging off of the greater curvature of the stomach, the outside portion is the greater curvature of the stomach. We have the greater omentum, this large, impressive, of kind of a membrane and a bag of fat where we store fat. And then in the lesser curvature of the stomach, we have the lesser omentum. Continuing on with the intestines, right in the fold of the duodenum, we have the pancreas. Not all that notable, but you can see glandular tissue that kind of parallels the duodenum, and that's the pancreas. Continuing on then, the duodenum, it soon becomes the jejunum, and we don't really know where that landmark is. And so by working backwards then, by taking the colon, so here's the colon, and eventually, if we follow the colon back, we can see this portion, and this is where the beginning of the large intestine, the cecum, connects with the ileum, the end of the small intestine, and of course that's the ileocecal junction. Also within the intestines we see mesentery, that connective tissue containing blood vessels, again that holds the intestine together and also suspends it from the dorsal body wall. Another large organ in the cat, bigger in the cat proportionally than humans, is the spleen. There we see the spleen. Also the kidneys, there are a large left kidney, again that filters blood. And then this little structure right here is the adrenal gland, again separate. In humans it sits on the kidney. Here we have a separate gland, the adrenal gland in the cat. Also then connected from the kidney is the ureter. So a lot of times if we pull the urinary bladder, here we see the urinary bladder and pads of fat on both sides. If we pull that, we can kind of see the ureter, which connects the kidney to the urinary bladder, bringing urine down, and then extending posteriorly from the bladder, we have the urethra that we see somewhat right here. That probably should be dissected out a little bit better, but the urethra extends beyond the urinary bladder. We have a male. The only reproductive structure you can see within the abdomen of the male is this little, it looks like dental floss that loops coming from the testes to the penis, and that's the vas, or the vas deferens, again bringing sperm down to the penis. So that's what we see in this male.